Volume of a cylinder. And let's first start with the formula for volume of a cylinder, and the volume would be base times height. But our base for a cylinder is always a circle. So a base of a circle, the area of a circle, pi r squared, times the height. Where b is the area of the base, and h is the height, and r is the radius of the base. So to find volume of a cylinder, we would use pi r squared h. So for our first example, we're given a cylinder. And if we look at this cylinder that we're given, we see a line from one edge through the center to the other edge. So have we been given a diameter or a radius? Well, since it goes from one edge through to the center to another edge, I would say we've been given a diameter of 40. And our height is going to be the distance between the two circles, which in this case would be 10 millimeters. So if I go to substitute into my formula, I need radius and I need height. I don't need diameter. So I have to take this diameter of 40 and divide it by 2 to get a radius of 20. So I'm going to substitute in, and for the first few questions, we'll just use 3.14 for pi, a radius of 20, and a height of 10. Then we can do 20 squared is 400. And then I can put in my calculator 3.14 times 400 times 10 and get 12,560 millimeters cubed. And answers to volume will always be in cubic units. We're looking for how many 1 by 1 by 1 cubes it would take to fill up the object. So they're going to be in units cubed. All right, let's look at a new question. We have find the volume of water in the cylinder. Well, the whole thing is not full with water. It looks like it's full of water to this point, to 12 inches. And if we look at the circle part, we have to first determine have we been given a radius or have we been given a diameter. With a point in the center and the radius out to one edge, we've been given a radius with this line out to the edge. So we're going to use 3.14, and this will depend on your directions. Do you use 3.14? Do you use the pi button on your calculator if you're allowed one for your work? Or do we leave things in terms of pi? So in this question, we're going to leave pi as 3.14. Our radius is 6, so we have 6 squared, the radius squared, times the height. And we're not looking for the height of the entire prism, we're just looking for the amount of water in it at 12 inches. 6 squared is 36. Then we can put in our calculator 3.14 times 36 times 12, and we get 1,356.48 inches cubed. And you'll also have to follow your directions as to what you round to, how many places you go out for rounding. All right, you guys pause the video here and find the volume of the cylinder-shaped silo that has a diameter of 60 feet and a height of 80 feet. Then restart the video. We'll go back and come through that. Oh, welcome back, everybody. So if the diameter is 60 feet, what is the radius? Well, the radius would be 30. So we have 3.14 times 30 squared times 80. And these are some big numbers to work with. 30 squared is 900. 900 times 80 times 3.14. We get 226,080 feet cubed for the volume of the cylinder. Now, answers in terms of pi. An exact answer means you don't need a calculator. You just leave your final answer expressed in terms of pi. We actually leave the pi symbol in the answer. So keep in mind that pi is an irrational number. That means it cannot be written as a fraction. And as a decimal, it will be a number that doesn't stop and doesn't repeat. It never ends and never repeats. So a more exact answer for the last question would be 72,000 times pi. Because we didn't do any rounding. We didn't go out to 3.14. We didn't use your calculator that would normally round out like 8 or 9 places. We left the pi symbol in our answer, which is a more exact answer. Now, if we wanted to estimate to come up with an answer that would make more sense so we could determine a closer amount, we'd have to do some rounding. If we use like 3.14 on the previous question, we got 226,080 feet cubed. But keep in mind, leaving the pi symbol in, actually one less step to solve, and is a more exact answer because we haven't done any estimating to come up with our solution. So leaving things in terms of pi is a good answer. It's actually a better answer in most cases. But follow your directions, see if you're allowed to leave things in terms of pi, or do you want to estimate? Now, a literal equation, we could solve the formula V equals pi r squared h for h. So let's say we have a few problems where we're given volume and radius, and we want to find height. We might want to rearrange this equation one time to solve for h. So what's being done to h right now? It's being multiplied by pi and radius squared. So to undo multiplying by pi and radius squared, I could divide both sides of my equation by pi and radius squared. Remember, with equations, we're always allowed to add, subtract, multiply, or divide anything we want to both sides. As long as we're consistent, do it to both sides. Then on this side, my pi's will cancel out, my radius squares will cancel out, and we'll leave height by itself. So I have h is equal to volume over pi times radius squared, which is going to come in useful for our next problem, where if we're given volume and radius, we could easily find height by using this formula. So find the height of a cylinder with a radius of 7 feet and a volume of 5,003 feet cubed. So we're going to use our new formula, where height is equal to volume over pi times radius squared. We're going to plug in everything we know. We know the volume, we know the radius, and we're going to use 3.14 for pi. 7 squared is 49. 314 times 49 is 153.86. And then I would divide 5,003 divided by 153.86, and I get the height of about 32.5 feet. So that formula is really handy if you're finding height given volume and radius. All right, here comes a hard question for you guys. It has a couple parts to it. I want you guys to find the volume of the can of beans and the drum of secret sauce, then describe how many times larger the drum of secret sauce is than the can of beans. Pause the video here and we'll come back and check your work. All right, welcome back everybody. So let's first look at the volume of the can of beans. And we see both are in inches, which is nice. We want to be in the same unit. And 4 inches from one edge of the can to the other really means we have a diameter given of 4 inches, which means the radius is 2. So when we put it into the formula, we wanted to use 2 for the radius, 2 squared, times the height of the can is 6 inches. So I have 24, 2 squared is 4, times 6 is 24. So I get 24 pi, and if we want to round that, pi, and then multiply by 24, 75.4 cubic inches for the can of beans. Now, let's look at the secret sauce. The secret sauce came in a giant container, and it looks like one of these big buckets of 50-gallon bucket thing, huge thing of secret sauce. So, are we given a radius or a diameter? Well, that looks like a radius to me. It has a center point, goes out to an edge, it's 18 inches. And instead of having the height in feet, it's actually given to us in inches. It says 36 inches. But you're always going to want to double check and make sure your units are the same. So if they had 3 feet there, we would have had to convert that to 36 inches. But it's nice, this problem gave us both things in inches. So we can plug into our formula. The radius is 18, so the r is 18, and the height is 36. So 18 squared is 324. 324 times 36 gives us 11,664 times pi, or about 36,644 cubic inches. And this little squiggly equal sign means approximately. That means we have some rounding involved in our answer. Our more exact answer, 11,664 pi. So now we have the volume of both cylinders, but we need to answer the rest of the question. It says, how many times larger? So let's look at both of our answers. We had 24 pi, and we had 11,664 pi for our 2 different sizes, or I could use the 75.4 and the 36,644. How do we tell how many times larger something is? Well, we want to know, what would I have to take the can of beans by, what would I multiply by in order to get this, to get the larger amount? Well, I'm actually going to divide to find out how many times larger. So I take the 11,664 pi divided by 24 pi, and I get 486. So the drum of secret sauce is 486 times larger than the can of beans. Orientation. If I took a can of soda and I turned it sideways, or I held it cockeyed, like up there in the corner, you still have the same radius and diameter on the circle. You still have the height being the distance between the two circles. So don't let the orientation of cylinders change any of your math work. It doesn't matter if the can is laying on its side or sitting straight up. It's still a cylinder. The height is still the distance between the two cylinders. And you can still get the radius and diameter of the circle the same way. So the radius, diameter, height of the cylinder remain the same regardless of the orientation of the object. All right, I hope that helps you guys through volume of cylinders. Have a great day.